Hi everyone, welcome to Chatbox Chronicles.
Welcome. We are going to connect, chat, and dive in. Let's get started.
Whoop whoop. Today we are here to talk about ride or dies, the occasional frenemies, and everything in between friendships. From giggles to growing pains, we've both gone through. Obviously, I think everyone in the whole world just goes through so many different kinds of friends. Like growing up, you have friends that you're kind of like forced to be with because of schools and like where you're located and where your parents move around to. And then college, those are like your special friends that see you growing up basically, like and then you graduate and then you have work friends, and then discovering what work friends really means. That was kind of like a big shocker for me, especially when COVID hit. Like, really realized work friends and all that stuff and frenemies. And then, just like becoming moms and how moms help you become friends and build your village and everything. We'll talk about how friendships have evolved over time and, just kind of get into it and let's talk about it.
Awesome. So, I feel like this is one of those topics that a lot of people want to hear about. And of course it's also one of those things, like, obviously by no means are we experts in friendship. I mean, nobody is. Right. You live and you learn, and like I feel like every friendship is completely different and like, benefits you in some kind of different way, depending on what kind of friendship it is. I feel like friendships are kind of like flowers. There's all different kind of flowers, but like they're all beautiful, and they all like, one might smell good, one might, I don't know, help the critters stay away from, eating the crop or whatever. I don't know anything about flowers, but if I did, then I would say that friendships are kind of like those, but then at the same point, like they grow and they die. Like a flower, kind of. And so, we just kind of want to just talk about that today, like ups, downs, what friendship means to us, what you can do in your friendships, to maintain a healthy relationship with your friends. So anyways, we'll start out,
you want to do some quotes?
We'll start out kind of like fun, and both of us found like some friendship quotes that we really like. So I'll start. So one of the quotes that I saw that I like is, it says, "Friendship isn't about who you have known the longest. It's about who walked into your life, said, 'I'm here for you,' and approved it." So I really like the 3 steps there, who walked into your life, who said, "I'm here for you," and then who proved it, So, anyways, that's a pretty good quote. And then another one was, "Friendships are like fingerprints. Each one is different and each one is beautiful." I guess kind of like what I was saying about the flowers, but like fingerprints as well. So that was a really cute one. And then the last one that I had found that I liked is by John Katz. I don't know who that is. The other ones I didn't see who they were quoted from. But this one was quoted, and it said, I think if I've learned anything about friendship, it's to hang in, stay connected, fight for them, and let them fight for you. Don't walk away. Don't be distracted, too busy or tired. Don't take them for granted. Friends are part of the glue that holds life and faith together. And he ends it with powerful stuff. So I really like that quote. That was really cool. So
you like break that down a little bit. I was like, that's pretty good, man.
It is. It's a good one.
Because sometimes like you get caught, especially like in your early 20s, especially when you like when I had college and jobs and everything. There's so much that's going on, and then you have so much going on, and you're like, who's in your life that's actually like you feel at peace with, and like it is hard kind of to recognize those people sometimes, like when you're younger. But anyway, that was a good one for sure. The 3 quotes that kind of like stuck out to me, one of our friends shared this, and I just thought it was beautiful. It said, "Be kind about the names your friends give to their children. Praise their haircuts, love their tattoos. It doesn't really matter if that's what you would do. Like every selfie, all of them. Clap for their songs, cheer them on. You were born with a limitless supply of encouragement. Use every one of them. Don't wait for the eulogies to speak out loud that your friends are precious and they make you feel proud." Like, that was such a beautiful poem.
I love that.
And like it is true. Like sometimes you do kind of wait until it's too late to like let them know. So like I try to like love my friends fiercely also, and just like be there for them. And then when you realize that you've kind of been a recluse, you're like, oh, hey, I'm here and I love you and I've seen you and I'm proud of you. You try to like remember to do that every once in a while.
But like we all need those reminders. I love how that quote says we have an abundant amount of encouragement.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like we have only like 10 compliments we can give out.
Right.
You know, like, no, and it's not just like that. It's just encouragement. Like, I'm proud of you. You can do this. Like, I know you're, you know, having to do all this, but you can do it. I've seen you do it before, you know, like a cheerleader.
Yeah.
You know, kind of thing as a friend. But I love that because it's like, it's like never too much. It's never too much to be proud of your friends and talk them up.
Right, yeah.
So.
And we don't have to, like, approve everything that they're doing, but,
Right.
like, we do, like, accept them for whatever choices they want to make. And, like, obviously we're not going to let our friends go down bad paths. And, like, you have to lovingly let people
or bring
know
you
that.
down, but say, like, hey, I'm seeing these things. And I just want you to know, like, I wish that you wouldn't do them, but if you're going to do them, then, you know, I'm here for you, like,
in this capacity. Yeah.
Yeah. Iron sharpens iron.
Yeah. So you want, like, friends that'll call you on your BS, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And not just be like, yes, people. Another one that I liked that just kind of made me think about, like, being a friend was, it said, be so completely yourself that everyone else feels safe to be themselves, too. And you know what? Like, I like that also, even about, like, frenemies or, like, someone, like, I want you to be yourself. So, like, if you are just a critical person, like, show me all of that. So, like, I can, like, and I want you to be I want you to be yourself. Like, if you come around me and you want to, like, and that's who you are, and you just start, like, you know, I'm like, okay, so she's a critic, like, or, like, you know, so that's what that person is, and I'm not going to change them, and I'm not going to, like, judge them for anything, but, like, you know, you're just like, okay,
are you
I'm going to see that, and, like, are you going to be a part of my tribe, and, like, how we talked about our friendship, like, organically grew, like, I like how I just want people to, like, I want to have an open space so people will be themselves around me, and then I can know if, like, you're going to be a part of my village, like, you know, one day, because it is, like, a lot, like, you have to put in to, like, your friendships, your relationships, and it's like, who all do I want in my tribe that I know that I can actually make them feel like they're a part of my tribe too. I'm not just like taking, but I want to also be there for them.
At what capacity?
Yeah.
You know, because we have to, obviously we're going to dive into this, but, like, we have to take people, you know, in whatever capacity
that they're currently at.
Yeah. So.
And then the last one for me that is kind of like at the end of a friendship sometimes, like, you know, all friendships can end. And this one was another quote, like, in a different kind of way to think about a friendship. But it said, I have no energy for hate. I either love you, wish you well, or hope that you heal. And that's, like, a big quote, like, something that, like, resonates with me, especially, like, in the past couple years, especially after becoming a mom. I think, like, before I didn't really focus on, like, I hope you heal kind of aspect. I kind of just, like, held on to the hurt, I guess, maybe, that the friend did. And now I'm, like, finally to that point with, like, you know what? It was a beautiful friendship. It was beautiful while it lasted. Like, there were good moments. It sucks that maybe it wasn't what I thought it was. But, hey, I'm glad that I was myself, where you could be yourself. We could figure out we weren't for each other.
That's right.
I hope that you go on your way, and I'm going to go on my way. And we're, like, life's good, you know? So, yeah, I love those quotes.
Yeah, and I like that quote because I feel like that kind of quote is, like, the division between when you're younger and when you're older seeking friendships, because, like, when you're younger seeking friendships, when things do happen like that, you know, it's more so like you try to have the upper hand, you know, you try to, you know, think that, like, oh, well, karma, you know, is a thing, or consequences or something like that. But when you get older, you know, whenever you cross over to that line and, like, you have those kind of friendships when you're older and things happen to where you're not as close as you once were, you do kind of mature in the sense of, like, you just weren't for me, and I was not for you in that capacity. You know, not saying, like, I'm not your friend, I wouldn't do anything for you.
Right, yeah.
You know, kind of thing. Just like a, you know, in that capacity of how heavy our friendship was, maybe you or me or who wasn't ready to be that heavy in those areas. And so just at this moment, not for me and not for you. You know, kind of thing. So, yeah, I do like that quote because it's very, that line between how we handled friendships when we were younger and how we try to handle them now. So.
Yeah, and what you do, like, once it's kind of fizzled. Because sometimes it is kind of weird, like, once a friendship fizzles, like, like, I don't know. Because you don't, sometimes you get the closure, sometimes you understand why it did, sometimes life just gets busy and you realize, like, dang, I hadn't seen that person in so long.
Sometimes you never get closure.
Yeah.
So then you have to kind of, like, figure out how to move on from not having any closure at all.
Yeah. Yep, and that quote definitely helps you move on.
Definitely. Well, on a lighter note, really good quote that we had another friend share. We asked people to, you know, share in some of their favorite quotes or advice or anything like that about friendship. And one of them we got was from Jessica, and she said, "The color yellow is how I describe a friend. the color of the sun that warms my blue days, the color of beautiful flowers in the spring that let us know new life is being born, the color of the leaves in the fall, letting us know it's time to slow down and enjoy the things around us, the color of happiness on my sad days, the color that I think of when I'm anxious but I know you are just a phone call away, the color of brightness every time you walk in a room, the color of sparkles in the night sky, you are my yellow. Yellow and gold are also the color of fire. Fire represents the presence of God in God's refining process. Therefore, yellow represents the joy, the presence of God, and God's anointing, whereas gold represents God's holiness, divine nature, and majesty.
I like that.
So thank you for sharing that, because
Yeah.
that was just a very thorough, beautiful description of, you know, how she sees friendships. So.
Yeah. I like it too because my husband's favorite color is yellow. So that was like, yeah, cute to read.
So then his favorite color is you.
Yeah. All right. So we all have different kinds of friend groups. I used to kind of like segregate in a way my friends more, I think, especially like when I had to like go into an office space and like kind of segregate my day. I had like certain friends that I did certain things with. And then, so I feel like sometimes that kind of got me in trouble because like I didn't think, like some friends like, well, why didn't you invite me to this? And I'm like, I don't know. Like to me, that was like more like, it was just like how our friendship was organically going. I didn't mean to segregate, but I mean, it makes sense sometimes. Like you have like your mom friends, you have like your friends that, you know, want to go out and drink. You have your friends that, you know, want to go out and go to church. You have your friends that, you know, want to go just to brunch or maybe vintage shopping, like go hit up some stores. Like you have like your certain friends, you know, that want to do certain things. But I've definitely, I think since becoming a mom, and I've kind of like weeded through all of my friends, because I did have like an influx of friends, I guess, at one point, because I thought also that you could just be everyone's friend. Like I thought, I'm friendly, I want to be everyone's friend, so like at the end of the day I can't be everyone's friend. And I thought people, like, I don't know, so every time someone did like turn on me, or like you realize they didn't have your best interests at heart at all, they were just trying to get information to like turn it around on you, that I would be like Bambi. I would be like, what in the world? Why?
Then you were the one who was hurt, because in the long run they weren't really your friend. You know, it was just, you're such a friendly person, so like you said, you're thinking like, well, everyone can be my friend, but everyone who's in your life isn't necessarily a friend.
Right.
And so I have here the Merriam-Webster definition of a friend, and it says a friend is a person who has a strong liking for and trust in another person, and who is not an enemy. Are you a friend or foe? So I guess like that's the difference. That there's a friend or a foe, and then there's, I like to use the word acquaintance. You know, like when you're acquainted with someone. So like obviously like the definition of a friend is someone who has a strong liking for, you know, not just, oh, I like this person, but like you know, really like this person, which means you love who they are, you love what you guys do together, you love your conversations, you know, but you also have trust in one another, and trust is a really big word. I mean, it's one of those that's like, you know, if you're married or you're in a relationship or something, obviously like that's one of the number one things up there is trust.
Right.
And so just like with friendships, if you don't have trust within a friendship, then they're not really a friend.
Right.
You know,
because you can't confide in them. You can't.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, because everyone goes through things, and you don't want someone that you confide in to hold that over anyone's head, or like, yeah, like obviously, like we've been married for years. Like I've been married for 7, she's been married for almost 8. Like we don't really talk about our husbands, but like if we do, it's not like she says something about Rock, I'm gonna like think totally different of him. Like
right.
You got to give everybody grace and patience, and like sometimes you just got to vent things off your chest. Like
yes.
Yeah.
I always say there's a difference between venting and gossiping.
Right.
You know, because venting is talking about a
trying to work
situation
out
and trying to work out a solution to a specific problem with someone, whereas gossiping is just, it is what it is. So yeah, I just kind of want to give it the definition to kind of like set the tone so we can stick into our brains as we go through the rest of this conversation. As what exactly is a friend? Like if I got any of my logical or analytical people out there, there's your definition. So now we can dive into, you know, everything else about a friendship. So
yeah. The biggest shift for me was the mommy shift, which was also like the COVID era, which is when everyone was locked in their homes, and like honestly, people would start seeing like some people would go out and hang out with their friends, and then they would tell you, like, oh, I can't hang out because of COVID. Like, and I think that's when you first start seeing, like, well, I saw you doing that with them, so, like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Yes, and I had just had my new kid, so then it was like, and then I was feeling extra isolated. It was weird. So that was, like, when my first, like, shift finally happened, where I finally realized, like, I can't be friends with every single person that I come into contact with. Like, I can be friendly, but I don't have to be a friend. I don't have to, like, put my heart out there, because I was putting my heart out there for people. And you gotta protect that. Like, Jesus says, you gotta protect that.
Well, yeah, and, like, stemming from that, so, like, yours was COVID, and, you know, like, becoming, you know, a mom and things like that, and mine was, and, like, yeah, I did have that sense, too, obviously, when Wilder was born, but mine was more so when my husband was deployed in 2021. You know, he was deployed for an entire year, and this is the time when, you know, I met one of my best friends, Jessica. You know, like, she had come to me, you know, because, like, she knew me because she knew my husband's family, but, like, she was so intentional, you know, with, you know, meeting me and stuff like that, and, like, we met, and then after that we were inseparable, but, like, she kind of got me through, you know, that year, whereas, like, you know, understanding everyone's busy and has their lives and stuff like that, but, like, when I say I did not get hardly a single text message from almost anyone the entire year, that's whenever you start kind of realizing, like, okay, like, I understand, like, you know, everyone's busy and stuff like that, and people don't intentionally, you know, not reach out to you or something like that. But I mean, like, even you and Jana and things like that, like, were there physically, you know, kind of things, like bringing me food, and, like, I always remember those. Like, I had a couple, like, surgeries and stuff, and they would bring me food. Like, you brought me some soup one time, and because I couldn't eat, and, like, Jana had brought me some food one time, and just things like that that are, like, they seem like such small gestures, but they're huge. But, like, it was during a time where it was like there were some people that I really thought were my friends, but then, you know, that whole year, I mean, it's a whole year, you know what I mean, and, like, not really hearing from anybody. So we just, you know, sometimes we go through things like that, like you said, 2020, I feel like a lot of people did during that time, because, I mean, we all have our own storms and things like that, but then it's kind of also a blessing, because you're able to see, like, okay, who, just like I said about that quote, who walked into your life, said I'm here for you, and proved it.
Right.
You know, like, you can say all day, I'm here for you, but, you know, kind of who proves it. So
right.
I guess that's kind of like the friendships that we're aiming towards the older we get.
Right.
You know, like, then, you know, back then it was, we just wanted to have, like, a number. We wanted to have a number of friendships, so we felt like we were loved because we were surrounded by so many people and things like that. But as you get older, you kind of start realizing, like, no, I think I would rather have less in my life. And those people who, like you said, are like your ride or dies. Like, they say that they're here for me, and they mean it. Right. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
And I don't even need someone to be like I have my husband, you know,
absolutely.
Like, I don't need someone up my butt. I just need someone that loves me and like wants to support me, is happy for me. Like, when big things happen, like, that was like another thing. And 2020 was a really hard year for me. Like, there was a lot of crazy things outside of COVID, like, and adding on to my family, like my first baby, like, that's just a big thing. But then, like, I just had, like, other things happen in that year, and then also got, like, super sick. And, like, being the friend that's never, like, wants, like, obviously everyone goes through things, and what you post on social media is, like, a funny thing to me. Like, not you, but, like, humans. Like, what humans post on social media. Yeah, it's, like, funny, especially when people get into, like, you know, this is a highlight reel. And, like, sometimes for me, I'm like, yeah, it's a highlight reel, but also this is my, like, leftovers. Because, like, I am having way more fun, but if I go to, like, Six Flags, I'm going to take a picture to, like, remember the trip, but, like, there was so much more fun. I'm like, yeah, like, and, you know, with Disney, like, I know, like, you got the cute pictures, but I know, like, there's more fun that you can't be taken. Gosh, it can't be put into a reel, but we also like the creativeness of the reels and, like, you know, all that stuff to put it together. So it's like, I like to share that with everyone, but I'm not going to put a reel together of me going to the hospital constantly and throwing up all day. Like, and also when people do that, like, I don't know if you saw, like, the girl, she, like, filmed herself making cupcakes for herself.
I did see that.
I was like, I don't know if I should talk about this. But, like, I mean, that is weird. like, I don't know. Like, do you have friends is what I thought when I saw it. I'm like, oh, poor girl. Like, she needs friends. Real ones.
Yeah, so, like, relevant in the way of, like, you should have those people that you're able to, you know, call upon that you don't have to tell the whole world about.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and that's okay if you do. You know what I mean? But, like, you know, we want to have those friendships to where we can pick up the phone and be like, girl,
yeah,
this is what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And then sometimes, like, if I feel like I don't have anyone to talk to, or if it's, like, too much, then, like, at least having the friend that's like, hey, can you just pray for me? And, like, be able to say that to someone.
And know they're going to different.
It's, like, a huge, that's so nice.
Absolutely. All right. So, now that we have kind of given the definition of what a friendship is, shared some really fun quotes with you guys, and threw a personal little story in there too, we are going to chat about how to be a good friend in your adulthood. Obviously, we're not experts by any means, but, you know, this is just something that we have both kind of, like, learned, you know, because it's also a learning thing, and it's like that with any relationship. You're going to just constantly be learning, you know. So, yeah. Anyway, so I've got, like, some points. So the first one that I put down was to make the time. And that sounds so, like, cliche, and then, like, you have, you know, some people who are like, well, I don't have time and stuff like this, but, like, if someone is important to you, then you have time. I'm really, really busy, so, like, if I'm really, really busy, and they're really, really busy, we know we're really, really busy, but we know that we can value our friendships enough to make that time.
Yeah. Check in. And sometimes, like, if a friend tells me, like, oh, I have, like, sometimes I'll check in and I'll be like, hey, how are things going? And they're like, well, I have, like, this doctor's appointment, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Sometimes I'll, like, even open up my Google Calendar and I'll put it in there so that I don't freaking forget, and I will check back in, because, like, you forget what day it is sometimes, and, like,
Absolutely.
all of a sudden it's passed. And I have had friends that had major surgeries and it passed, and I was like, dang it, and they reached back out to me, and I'm like, whoo. But I think because the friendship is so good, and I'm not, like, a fair weather friend, like, when I accidentally drop the ball, I think that they can give me grace and we can move on, you know?
Yeah.
Because, yeah, it's good to have grace and patience in all your friendships.
Absolutely. So, you know, we're all busy.
Yeah.
Just like in our other relationships, we're busy. We have marriages, we have kids.
Yeah.
You know, our own parents, coworkers, you know, what have you. But we
I'm
have
in the newborn haze, so, like,
yes.
sometimes I'm like, I didn't sleep at all last night, and I love you. I can't talk to my friends right now.
And we understand, because we've been there too.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got to really set time aside, you know, for our friendships to work. And another thing is, it's not always going to be convenient for you. And I think a lot of people struggle with friendships in adulthood because they think only about themselves. You know, they think like, oh, well, this isn't convenient for me, so then I'm not going to be this person's friend anymore. I'm not going to keep reaching out to them. You know what I mean? But, like, sometimes in a relationship, it's not going to be convenient for you. Sometimes you have to make it convenient for them. You know what I mean? Like, if we live in different cities, you know, or something, like, you know, this time I'm going to come to your house, you know, or whatnot. We'll meet here, you know, in this area for lunch, because we typically meet over closer to where I live, but this time we're going to do it every year. You know what I mean? Like, so just being, like, very, realizing that, like, your convenience is not their convenience, but in order to make a relationship work, you know, there has to be compromise. Yeah, kind of just like a marriage too.
Yeah.
You know, because I see all the time, what is it, the thing that says, if they're not reaching out to you, then don't reach out to them. You know, or something like that. But, like, sometimes it's not going to be convenient for you. Sometimes you have to make it convenient for them if you want your friendship to work.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to make compromises on how, when, and where to make time for one another. This could look like setting a day once a month to physically get together for lunch or dinner, even PJs on the couch with a glass of coffee or wine while the kids play. So, yeah, that
it's good to have that community. It's good to make sure that you put into that relationship for sure. Like, however, and even if it's like figuring out how you communicate, because some friends like want to text more. Some friends like voice clips, or there's like different video apps that leave like convenient FaceTimes to each other. But like there's some friends like you can't do that because they don't have time to sit down and listen to it ever. So then it's like we'll send, like, I have a best friend and we'll catch up every few months, and sometimes we'll just like dump pictures on each other.
Yes.
Because I even know, like, I'm not mad that she's not liking all my Instagram posts or nothing, you know, because like we don't even have time to be on Instagram all the time. So like, yeah, then it's also like figuring out how your friends communicate and like, how you want to like grow that friendship for sure.
And that's a really good point, because I'm very much like that in my friendships, in the way of, like, for instance, I'm not very good at texting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know that too. Like, Elise will send me like a long text and mine's like this short, and I'm like, I promise, like, I'm going through all these things and I'm reading it and I hear it, and that's great. Me responding like shortly is just how I respond.
Yeah.
But if you were to pick up the phone and call me, oh boy, we'll be on the phone for hours. But again, like, sometimes it's convenient for, even though I don't like texting, sometimes that's what people want, and so then I have to, you know, sit down, really think about, respond, you know, kind of things like that, because it's crazy too. Like, little side note, the generation now, like, underneath us, they'll have like 5,000 text messages unread.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know how. Like, first of all, my anxiety, but like, second of all, I'm like, I don't like leaving people unread. Because I know, like, even though I don't like texting, that may be their way of communicating. And like, I don't know. I'm like, I can't do that.
Yeah, my husband does that with the emails. I don't know how he's got. I don't know how y'all do that part.
Well, no, I have a junk email that I don't look at, so I'm not looking at it. So I get your point, but like, my business email is cleaned up to a T.
Yeah,
I can't even have a single.
But he's like, he'll see the emails for the day, and if they don't have anything to do with them, he'll just like close it out instead of like deleting them.
And there's like 5,000.
Yeah, and I'm like, what is going on with your email? But like, for my text, like, I will have like 20 texts sometimes, but it can't be more than 20.
Oh God, no.
And then like, but because I'll forget to go back and reply, and then sometimes I'm like, I will not open a text because I know I need to reply eventually, and then something will happen. I like open it, I'm like, dang it, and I'm like not in a good spot to reply back either.
Absolutely,
and I'm just like, hey, I'll hopefully come back to this and like hope they'll respond, and then like hope we can pick this back up.
Right. I do resonate with that sometimes. But then, you know, I've got friendships who like I have someone overseas right now, and we talk every single day, but we talk on an app, you know, where we can see each other but talk, but we can be doing things while we're listening and talking and things like that. So
cleaning the house.
To your point, very good. Like, you have to figure out with your friendships, like, what is not only convenient for you, but what's convenient for them. You know what I mean? Like, me and another friend, like, we can get on the phone, and the phone could be running for 3 hours, and we're just talking about either nothing or everything, you know? But like, it's just like, that's just what we do because that's convenient for us in that moment. So yeah, very good point. I like that. So first point was make the time. Second point is show up for your friends. So when a friend tells you about something they're excited about or something they're going through, acknowledge it and remember it. That's the thing. Like, you know, your friends, are they transitioning? Are they having something done? Are they going through something with family? Are they, you know, it could be little things, big things, whatever, but like, we confide in our friends, and even if it's not something that's technically a big deal, it's still something that like means a lot. Like, I remember not that long ago, I was trying to do like this like side job or whatever, and I had just mentioned it to Elise and another one of my friends, and like the next week it was like my first day or whatever, and then they had messaged me and were like, how did it go? And I'm like, I didn't even know that you guys remembered, because I kind of just said it like in passing, but it made me feel good. Like, even though that didn't work out and it was like such a small thing, it was like, oh, they remembered, you know, kind of thing. So just small things like that with your friends. It's not only acknowledging them, but remembering them.
Yeah. And also, like, a quote that I saw was like, I was with you, like, laughing with you, and I also want to be with you, like, crying and like going through like all of the things with you. And so like, it's nice like when you have a friend that recognizes anything and they want to be there through like all the stages, and they show you that they are not there just for the good times, but they're good, like, you know, because some friends that only show up if it's like it's convenient and it's a good time for them, and you're like, I do go through a lot too, and maybe I don't want to talk about it all the time, and all I need maybe is a heart emoji from you, but like, it's nice when they recognize those things. Yeah,
that's the difference.
Make you feel loved.
Yeah, absolutely. So like we said, like, act on it. So like, did your friend move to a new home? Help them pack / move. Like, there's always things that we can do. Did a friend have surgery? Take them dinner. We have to be intentional in our friendships. So they're going to work. Like, they're not going to work. Bottom line, if I can get any point across, I guess, like, to myself or to anyone else, friendships do not work unless you're intentional. And that's probably like the main thing. And another thing is like, it's always so easy to say, let me know if you need anything. Yeah. But I have stopped myself, you know, the past few years, I stopped myself saying that. Right. You know, and I try to think before I respond with, if I can grab you dinner and bring it let me know. You know what I mean? Like, I try to, like, come up with something that I can actually do for them in that
putting
moment.
one more thing on their plate?
That, or then just the whole let me know if you need anything. No one's going to let you know if
no,
you need anything.
Especially if you're really going through something.
Yes, they're just not.
Yeah.
And so there's already too much on you already. If you're going through something, the last thing you need is for you to come up with something. And then, you know, it's also like everybody has that, like, well, I don't want to burden them or something like that. So to be an intentional friend, you know, if you want to do like I did and cut that out of your vocabulary period. I did that years ago, and
it's like when people say I'll pray for you. I've tried to kind of stop doing that too, because first off, I'm always praying for you, is how I feel, like, especially like, you know, like I am, and so it's like, let me stop saying that, and I try to think either, and sometimes I'll even write out a prayer and send the prayer if I have to.
Yes, something more intentional like that. And of course, like, we're not talking about like everyone and everything. We're talking about your friendships, like your friendships that you want to work. You just need to be more intentional there.
Yeah.
So, you know, saying let me know if you need anything is a nice gesture, but it isn't enough when you want a thriving friendship with someone. You must get creative and have intent with your giving and support.
Yeah.
All right, so make the time, show up for your friends, and the third one is maintain respectful boundaries. I feel like Elise probably has a lot to say about this one. So everyone should set boundaries. We don't set those boundaries to push people away. That's what people have the misconception of. They think of boundaries as like a wall. Like a boundary and a wall goes up, and it's to like push people away.
And it's my way or the highway.
Yeah, and it's my way or yes.
I'm not trying to be controlling. I'm not trying to tell you what to do.
But they're there so that we can maintain healthy relationships.
And be like upfront and like say like this is what I'm like thinking and expecting. I hate sometimes people like assume too much, and so like when you put down
assumptions can ruin a lot.
A lot. Yeah. And it's better, in my opinion, to be upfront and honest. And I guess like when you are setting your boundaries, sometimes like when you first start setting boundaries, you can be a little like seen as being controlling, because you didn't really know maybe like the most healthy way or the most like eloquent way to go about it. But and maybe sometimes you're like, I've been so flexible and I'm done being flexible. This is the boundary, right? And I've had to realize how to like kind of ease into those things, because sometimes it does seem a little selfish or controlling. So it's like, okay, I've been giving them this. I don't need to like all of a sudden like 180 it and give them whiplash. I need to like, you know, introduce the boundary and then go from there. And if they don't immediately respect it, I can't also just be immediately annoyed by that. I have to like, but if they continue to disrespect, that's when it's like, okay, noted. I'll smile at you. I'll tell you have a good day. God bless. And then we'll adjust our relationship.
Right, absolutely. So if we want to have good friendships, then we must respect each other's time, space, home, and other relationships that we have. So that's setting boundaries. You also must be mindful and have understanding and patience for your friends. Maintaining respectful boundaries is such a big thing. It can be a really hard thing, especially for people who are quote unquote people pleasers.
Right.
I think we probably all kind of go through, especially as like women, I feel like we all kind of go through a stage of being a people pleaser.
Right.
We want to love everyone and support it. We have this like motherly instinct, you know, to just like befriend everyone, you know, and love everyone. But then we were
kind of raised as women, like, I mean, as girl, like, you know, like, oh, be pretty, stay in here, like, be friends with everyone, like, and so then you start, like, trying to, like, stretch yourself thin for all these people, and then, like, I was middle child, like, you know, so then it's, like, I don't know, you go through, like, these people, like, you know, I will do this, and I, like, can I make you happy, you know, and, oh, that made you mad, so let me, like, adjust and not ever try to make you mad again, but then that just, like,
I think it was, like, we're having to get out of the mindset of there's only two types of people. You're either a mean girl or a people pleaser. You know, and like that's not.
Well, no, and then also true. I guess people pleaser is now a pick me. Like I guess is what they call them. I don't really know what a pick me girl is yet. I've just seen that thrown around, and I'm like, why people? We used to hate labels. They would be like, a label is only for a can of soup. And then, like, you know, like, that was, like, my high school. I really felt like they were always like, don't label me. I'm not anything, you know?
Right.
But that was kind of like an emo person saying that.
Right.
And then now, like,
labeled,
everything is like, I am so labeled. It's so confusing. But yeah, I mean, it definitely is like, the two different kind of girls categories that you fall into. And being a mean girl, it was funny because I never tried to ever be a mean girl. And then I remember, because like in high school, I tried really hard to be everyone's friend. I was homecoming queen, which is like what the whole school, you know, votes on. And I tried really hard to just like be friendly. And then I remember being in college and there was this girl that I swear I thought was my friend. Like, I did not think that we had any issues. And then another mutual friend was like, oh yeah, she said that you were a mean girl in high school. And I was like, what? How? Like, how? And it's so funny because like it's weird how some people, yeah, they can just like everyone's got their own perspectives and stories and whatever. Yeah, but and it's so whenever I'm experiencing a mean girl myself, golly, I try not to give them the label, but I try to like let myself know like this is just not a person that's going to be in your tribe. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Ooh.
Yeah, so maintaining those respectful boundaries definitely goes hand in hand with that. Also, we need to be honest and express good communication with our friends. I just feel like obviously communication is one of those things that's like important, so important in every relationship. And that goes for your friendships too.
Yeah, it helps cut out the assumptions.
It does, yes, because assumptions can ruin so many things.
Yeah.
So honesty is it's just important.
It does suck though when you do try to be clear and then sometimes it gets muddled or like twisted and it doesn't help out at all. It makes things worse.
Right.
But then I feel like when that's back to the quote of like, let me just be truly myself so you can truly be yourself and then we'll decide if we belong. Because like, yeah, I think sometimes if I'm trying to explain myself and I've realized that person is just hell bent on misunderstanding me, okay, that's fine. I'm glad that I tried to explain myself.
Yeah.
And I'm glad to see that this is like, you don't want to see me as anything other than like the bad guy in your like situation, you know? So okay, and that's fine. Sometimes you have to be the bad guy for people, and you just gotta be like, all right, I know what my character and like what I was choosing to do, and like, sorry, but we just aren't gonna be friends. Like,
yes.
And I'm gonna move on. But yeah,
and like you said, yes, like sometimes you do have to be the villain. Everyone's a villain in somebody's story. And sometimes you're going to be labeled a villain for setting boundaries. Yeah. You know, kind of thing. But then that just means, like, if we're talking about friendships, then that person is not your circle. So obviously being honest in your friendships, this doesn't mean being blunt or rude. You know, like, we have to learn how to approach our friendships, you know, in the way that we talk to them. You know, and that's like, you know, something that I have to try. That I'm not blunt or rude, but I am very much because of my personality, I'm very much like a problem solver. I'm very much like, okay, these are the things that were done, these are the things that were said, like, why? Like, do you have an explanation? And then also, like, you know, explanation, forgiveness, and then, like, how are we going to work through this from here on out? You know, kind of thing. I'm very much like that kind of
Don't
person.
want it to happen again.
So don't want it to happen again, so how can we sit down and resolve this now?
Yeah.
You know, and so, like, some people may take that as being blunt or rude because you didn't just allow them to just treat you however. But still, we have to think about, like, our tone and things like that, too, because I know, like, for me, I can come off, you know, kind of in a different way sometimes because my tone is not, I'm just not, like, I'm not very, like, motherly, you know, I'm more like a matter of fact in a way that I'm like, I love you, and this is why I'm saying these things. But, you know, sometimes I do have to watch my tone, too. Obviously not sprinkle it in pixie dust, but, like, because that's just not how I talk. But just have to watch my tone as well to make it not seem so harsh.
Yeah, which is good, like,
demanding.
Like, reflection and growth, because it is good to, like, sometimes people use that, like, well, I'm just an Aries, and this is just who I am.
I'm just blunt, and so I am.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, like, it's good to know who you are and to appreciate that, but you can grow. You can still be blunt and, like, not be rude. Like, there is a difference between, like, bossy, and which is what I'm trying to teach my little Aries daughter. Because, like, obviously she's 4, so, like, she'll be like, I want to play this way, and I'm going to do it this way, and this is what we're doing. Because, like, she's used to me telling her those kind of things, so when she talks like that to other people, she doesn't think it's a big deal. And then all of a sudden people are starting calling, like, would call her bossy, like, grandparents or whatever, like, just not trying to be rude, but they would just use that term. And for me, though, I was like, and I didn't, like, immediately get on them, like, we're not calling her bossy, but I was like, look, we're going to try to figure out a different way to, like, phrase that.
Like a different term.
And then, like, you know, try to implement that. I'm like, no, she's just, like, she knows what she wants, and let's just show her there can be a different perspective. And, like, my daughter does say a lot of big words because I will say things like that to her, and she's 4 and she understands it all, so it's, like, cool. But, yeah, anyway.
Absolutely. So, like, obviously, what we don't want to do ever is change ourselves.
Right.
We're not going to change ourselves ever, but, like, we can figure out how to approach based on our personality.
Yeah, and grow.
With our friendships and grow.
Yeah.
And I feel like every time we go through something with a friend, we grow.
Mm-hmm.
Just like with our relationship, like every time. Obviously, I'm like, oh, I'm not going to be like, I'm so glad that me and my husband went through all these things. You know, like, yay, you know, kind of thing.
Right.
But it's also like after the storm, it's like, you know, because we went through these things, we're stronger now.
Right.
And you know, you're in the good friendships whenever you kind of go through something, you have to talk it out, you work it out, and then things are better because of it.
Right.
If they're not better, or they kind of just fall off, then they just weren't meant for your inner circle.
Yeah.
But if they get better, then it's like, okay, well, we went through this so that we, you know, can be stronger now.
Yeah. And some people are in our lives just for seasons, and
yeah.
so if they don't make it through that weathered storm, then they're there for their season. You learned a lesson, probably.
Absolutely.
Whether it was just personal growth or finding out more about how other humans operate. And, like, it's so funny because sometimes, like, I'll watch movies, you'll see the villain, and sometimes I think that only happens in the movies, and then when things are happening like that in real life, I'm like,
this is a movie.
I was like,
my life is a movie.
And I'm like, people really act like that. Like, oh my goodness.
I mean, script's gotta come from somewhere.
Right, I know. And then, like, I feel like Bambi again, and I'm like, oh my god, I just need to grow up. But, you know, it's good. It helps you, it develops your character.
Absolutely. So, obviously, as for me, and I'm sure Elise and everyone else, like, I just want people in my life that are close to me that are going to help me grow, and be a better person.
And be happy for you and have fun with you. Yeah, that's, like, the biggest thing. And, like, it sucks when you do have people in your life and you tell them, like, something amazing and you can hear them, like, crickets or not really believing in you and things. Yeah. And then, like, but it is kind of good to also see who those people are, so, like, you know who to talk to about things.
Absolutely.
You know, because there's things in your life that you're going through that, like, you'll need, like, friends to pray with you about, but, like, there's things that, like, you just don't want any negative energy at all to it because it means so much to you.
Yeah.
I know you know about something in my life right now that I'm, like, so excited about that I can't really tell anybody, but I got, like, you, I got my core people, and I'm like, I can't wait for one day us to celebrate, and I know that you're actually going to want to celebrate with me, like, and I can't wait for that. We're going to have so much fun, but yeah.
Yes, that goes back to that bullet point of showing up for your friends.
Yeah.
Even in the small things, like, they tell you things, remember them. Like, you know, make it important for you. Like I said, it may not be convenient for you. It may not be that important to you, but, like, it should be important to you because it's important to them. Yeah. The same thing is, like, if your kid does something on their own, and they're like, yay, mommy, look at me. And you're like, I'm so proud of you. Yeah. You know, like, all they did was pick up a pencil. You know, but, like, for our friendships, the same way. Like, it may not be our vision for something, but it's their vision, and they're so excited, so we're excited for them. So, yeah, do you have anything to add before we close it with some fun?
I was, like, thinking about friendship. Like, different kinds of friends is, like, you have your coworkers, which, like, I do kind of want to go back into that just, like, a little bit.
I've been there, so.
Yeah, because, like, you go to when you have to go into an office space and you see these people 5 days out of the week for 8 hours a day, and anything can happen. And, like, you know, because you got life going on, and then something happens, and now you're at your desk crying, you know, and then, like, someone comes up, and they're like, oh, my God, and you confide in them because you've seen them every day, and then, like, oh, my goodness, and then you, like, just realize that either they were trying to get a promotion, they were trying to, like, you know, figure out how they can tarnish you, they're not really your friend, and they're just like, oh, my God, look at Elise, she's so, like, she's so emotional, like, or whatever they could say about me, I don't know. The work friend, golly, I started, like, my first career, like, right out of college, so then you think, I don't don't know how to, like, they were just, I don't know, people through college and everybody, like, even work, it was like they were kind of there, so then you're like, okay, God put these people in my life. I don't know.
Right,
I would think that
and
a
maybe
lot.
he did.
Yeah.
But
which he did.
For a reason that we may not have thought was the reason.
And I'm like, oh yeah, these are my people. And
right.
then, like, literally, I was with a company for 10 years, celebrated 10 birthdays with these people, and I don't even know if a single one of them know my birthday. So anyway, I'm sorry, but like coming to those realizations, and I wasn't the kind of coworker that was like every morning I'm like, hey, good morning, how are you today? Like, I literally go sit at my desk and work. And one time my husband was like, do you not do small talk? And I was like, no, not really. Like I didn't think. I just was like, how do these people small talk? And then he was like, you just like, because I don't know.
It's easy for men to small talk, but we're like, girl, let me tell you what happened this weekend.
Yeah, then you're talking for 20 minutes in the kitchen, and you're like, I should have been working.
Yes, and then they know your whole life story.
Yeah, and then you're like, you have someone that you think that you need to, like, now be intentional for, because then it's like, oh, well, that person was nice to me while I was having, like, a weak moment. Now, like, maybe I should, like, return the favor, and you try to, like, look out for those things, but they weren't really, like, it was just like a moment, like, it was not a moment they were trying to be intentional for, so now you're being intentional for them, and you're doing too much, putting too much effort into these people that they were just your coworkers. Like they were just trying to get a job done with you, and that was it. I will
say too, like, just going back to, like, kind of our bullet points, and the one for that one is definitely set your boundaries with friendships that are like coworkers, because you know, I've been in a situation where it was really serious. I was new there, and of course it was, let's pin this on the new girl. Well, long story short, somebody was stealing money. Oh my gosh. And they all said that it was me, because that was the easiest route to take. But then when they found out the truth, obviously the girl was fired, and like they could have, pressed charges and stuff on her, but they just, had her, like, pay back or whatever. But I'll never forget the hurt that I felt, because I was like, first of all, that would have been a really big thing if they would have actually just believed that I would have done something like that.
Right.
But the fact is, like, I thought that they were, quote unquote, my friends. Like, they were coworkers, but they acted like they were my friends, but then they were so quick to turn their back just based off of assumption, like, oh, she's a new girl, she's probably stealing. So anyways, just set your boundaries for coworkers and stuff, because you may think, oh, no, not my coworkers, but then, it's just set those boundaries, because you just never know.
All right, and then another kind of friend is, like, your neighbors. I also grew up in a very, like, it was just family-owned land, and there were my cousins and stuff, and then growing up, and when I finally was able to, like, go out and get my first house and have neighbors, like, you have the Bible verses that talk to you about, like, treating your neighbors, like, neighborly love and all that stuff. But, like, it is pretty awesome, like, when you do become kind of close to your neighbors, and to see them, like, show up, or just even, like, text you, like, hey, I think you left your garage door open, like, whatever, things like that. You're like, okay, those are nice friends. Maybe we won't, like, really get to know each other, but, like, man, I will never forget Bill and Betty, my best neighbors ever. Like, I would go over there with my little new baby, and we would just sit and talk, and I became good friends with them. And
you can count on them for different things. Like, hey, will you walk to my house while I'm gone? Or make sure, like, or...
And they were kind of older, and then Mr. Bill actually passed away this past October. Oh, and it, like, broke my heart. But to go to his, like, funeral and to hear everyone talking about him, and he was the same, like... That was who I knew. Like, I loved that. But yeah, and, like, finding those, like, kind of neighbors. And obviously we've moved from there, and I'm back to living in the country with 0 neighbors except for cousins. But I mean, that's nice too. And then you have, like, your online communities. Like, there are friends that you only have online. Like, you can make friends that way. I know, like, when we first grew up, we were introduced to the internet.
The IM chat.
And it was like, do not talk with strangers online.
We sure did.
Yeah, but we did.
Raise your hand if you're a victim of internet relationships. I think we were all in the same relationship with the same emo-looking guy. You know what I'm saying? He, like, was a surfer, and he lived in California. MySpace. Like, that's my boyfriend. No, that's my boyfriend. It's probably a girl.
It probably is. But, like, thankfully, though, there are, like, online communities now, and there's, like, Facebook groups where you can find, like, mom groups and stuff, or, like, anyone that likes anything that you like, even Bluey. Like, there are so many groups out there. There's a Facebook group for anything. Like, yeah, just getting that community online. finding people that are facing similar situations as you is super nice. And then another type of friendship. Okay, I do want to talk about a little bit like when like the mom shift and like becoming a mom. Like, so I also had like a friendship that we were like inseparable, and we told each other like all these things, like hardships that we had gone through and like friendships in the past that kind of like did us dirty, you know. This is when I'm like still like I'm in my 20s, and I mean it's late 20s, but I was still in my 20s. And then like I was pregnant, and we're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do like a really nice like baby shower, and like it was like this whole thing. And like I've never really had anyone throw anything for me like at all. Like my husband has done a really good job of surprise parties for my birthday, but like outside of that, which is like, I feel like if your husband hasn't thrown you a surprise party, he needs to get onto that. But anyway, she was like telling me how she was going to throw this big party for me and stuff, and I was like, it didn't have to be that big of a deal, like even like to the cups, like I'm like thinking red Solo cups, because like I'm not that big, like I just wasn't trying to be fancy, and I appreciated her being fancy and like wanting all those things. But then like literally 3 days before my baby shower, she just told me that she couldn't be my friend anymore, and there was no reason for it, and she was going to dump all the things off to like my sister, and that was that. And that was like such a, that was right before COVID too, because this was like January of the same year, 2020. Like 2020 was so crazy, like beginning to end. That was like so weird for me. And then once I became a mom, and then I immediately made so many friends that had kids around the same age, and like to see how like they would just never treat me that way, I was like, I don't know what that girl was or who she was in my life, but all right. Right. At least now we have like better friends. And I do think also if you're a mom, it's like good when you see them putting in the intentions, because you know that they're busy and you know they have all these like kids and things on their plate, and then when they reach out to you, it just makes you like, yay, this person does want to be a part of my village, and it's not some fair weather friend that's just gonna like be here for the convenience and only show up because they need things or whatever. Like, I don't know. But yeah, so those are like some fun friends. But I do appreciate like all my friends right now, like, oh my gosh, I have so many good friends, and I'm blessed that God has done that, and like he's really shown out since having Roxanne. I just remember being really sick that year, having a new kid, like all of the things, and just like being on my hands and knees and just being like, okay, what do I need to do to make sure that I'm not in another friendship that's just gonna like me just pouring so much into them and it fizzle out, and I just at the end of the day feel like I just wasted a couple of years, you know? Like, it sucks when you, like, put a lot into someone and then you just feel like, yeah, all of that was, it feels like a waste. But now that we have grown and matured, we want them to heal, and we will take away the beautiful parts of it and grow and move on.
We'll cling to those and, move on with who is for us.
Yes. All right, so that was so much fun.
Oh, speaking of friendships, so June 8th, so not a couple days ago, was actually National Best Friends Day.
Yeah.
So I looked up, who are some celebrities that are best friends? And some of them one of them was really funny and surprising, but the rest of them I'm like, okay, I can see that. So USA Today, they mentioned these celebrities as BFFs. Okay, so the first one is Tina Fey and Amy Poehler. Mm-hmm. We all know that.
Yeah.
We love seeing their movies together, and you can tell, like, on screen that they're probably exactly the same off screen.
Yeah.
Justin Bieber and Jaden Smith. Dwayne Johnson and Kevin Hart. We love that duo.
Yeah.
Nicki Minaj and Ariana Grande.
Cute.
And then the one that was really funny and cute to me was Snoop Dogg and Martha Stewart.
Yeah.
So there you have it, folks. Your best friends may not look and act like you, but they are your best friends for a reason. So I'm sure Snoop Dogg and Martha Stewart are very intentional with each other.
Yeah.
And
they probably give each other the best
advice.
Cookbook.
Yeah, that's the advice cookbook. Yeah.
He's probably like, hey mama, what do
I cook tonight? Yeah. That's my girl. So yeah, we kind of just wanted to end it on that. So
yeah, we appreciate our friends in our life, and we appreciate you for listening. Thank you again for joining us on this journey. This has been a lot of fun. We definitely are still working out kinks. Still trying to figure out what exactly we're recording and how to upload and do all the things technical producer wise, but we appreciate the grace and patience and the love and support. I think every day I've gotten a text from someone. And every time we check, there's at least one person watching our thing again. So that's pretty cool. It's been 1 week officially since we produced our first podcast. So yeah, thank you again for listening to Chatbox Chronicles, where friendship, laughter, and real talk connect us all. We will be back next week, and yeah, see you there. Bye.
Bye.
Life's a mess, but at least we can chat about it on Chatbox Chronicles.
That is so cute.
All right, bye for real. Oh, that was an hour.
Yay.